What's up, you guys? Welcome back. Today I'm super excited because we are filming one of my favorite types of videos to film where we are doing a full face of dupes. If you guys haven't seen my other videos where I do this, I'm basically gonna do half of my face with high-end makeup and the other half with the corresponding drugstore dupe for the high-end product, and then we're gonna see if our face can basically look the same side to side. That's the goal, for it to look like we did the whole face with the same makeup, even though it was half done with super affordable makeup and the other half more expensive. I love doing this because I'm a firm believer in the fact that you don't have to spend a ton of money to get a really beautiful makeup look, so I'm really excited. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and click the little bell right next to the subscribe button so you be notified of all my future uploads. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so I'm gonna do this side of my face with high end, this side of my face with drugstore. I always get so scared that I'm gonna mix it up one time. Fingers crossed that doesn't happen, but let's go ahead and jump in. On the high end side, we're gonna be going in with one of my absolute favorite products, like of 2021 and into 2022. This is so pretty, but I do have a really good drugstore alternative. So this is the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. I feel like this has gone viral. So many people have been talking about it, and for good reason. It's really a beautiful product, but I'm gonna go in on the high-end side with this. This is basically a multi-use product. It's very glowy, so I like to use it mostly underneath foundation as a primer to really amp up the glow of my foundation, but it can also be used on its own, or it can be used as like a liquid kind of highlight product. So that's that. I'm just gonna go in on the high-end side with a classic beauty blender to blend it out, but it gives the prettiest look to the skin and really makes you look glowy. Like, I have dry skin, so that's not very easy to do, but that is what it looks like all blended out. It does come in different shades, so the shade that I used was 4.5. So a really good drugstore alternative is the L'Oreal Lumi Glotion. You guys can see this is well used. I've used this for years. I absolutely love it. This also comes in a few different shades. I think there's only 3 in this one, but this is the medium shade. I'm gonna have to really try and squeeze some out of here because I'm running low, clearly. I'm gonna try and just squeeze some directly onto the blender. The blender that I'm gonna be using, this is from the new e.l.f. Cookies and Cream collection, but it's super soft, super bouncy, and way less expensive than the beauty blender, but really works exactly the same. Okay, thankfully I was able to squeeze some out. At first I thought I was not gonna be able to get anything out of it, and I was like, no! But no worries, gonna go through and blend this out onto the skin. This one gives a little bit less glow. It's not quite as glowy as the Charlotte Tilbury, which for some people may be a good thing. You might not want something as glowy as this. I personally love it, but this one still gives a really pretty tint to the skin, makes you look kind of bronzy and glowy, and can be used both on its own or underneath foundation to really amp up your glow. All right, so that is that. I feel like we're looking pretty good on both sides. Alrighty, now jumping onto the high-end side, we are gonna be using one of probably like the most popular foundations of all time, and that is the Estee Lauder Double Wear foundation. This is a really pretty foundation, medium to buildable, although I honestly consider this more like full coverage, long wearing, like tried and true. So I'm gonna go in with this on the high-end side, and I'm gonna use shade Cool Vanilla for this. I'm gonna put in a little bit of 2W Rattan as well, because that looks like it's gonna be a little light. Just kind of mix together the colors so we make something that kind of works. Yeah, I think those two should work together. And then going back in with my beauty blender to go in and blend this out. What I like is this foundation specifically has more of like a matte finish, but it's not super drying, which is nice, but I like to pair it with that more glowy primer underneath so we still get a little glow to our skin. All right, so we have that pretty much all blended out, and now I'm going to go in on the dupe side. So immediately when I tried this, I was like, ooh. First of all, I love this. Second of all, it does remind me of Estee Lauder Double Wear because they have really similar claims, and this is a really nice foundation from the drugstore. This is the CoverGirl Outlast Extreme Wear 3-in-1 foundation. So it's also supposed to be full coverage, super long wearing, and it's just beautiful. I feel like I have not heard that many people talk about this, and I don't know why, because it really is great. So I'm going in with shade Warm Beige. I found this at Walmart. So I'm gonna just apply this to the skin. The shades on these might be slightly off, but I'm telling you, finish and how they wear on the skin is very similar. So I'm just going in and blending this out with the CoverGirl sponge. But you guys can see like immediately, this one is actually even, I would say, a little bit more coverage than the Estee Lauder Double Wear is. It really gives a nice even coverage pretty fast. And the shades actually don't even look that much different. All right, so far we're looking pretty good with these dupes. On the high-end side, I'm gonna be going in with one of my favorite concealers. This is the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. So this is a medium to full coverage hydrating concealer. It's really nice. I'm using this in shade Vanilla. It's one of my personal favorites. So I'm gonna put this on my under eyes and then just use it to conceal any blemishes I have as well. And then back in with the beauty blender to blend everything on out. I don't know if you guys can see, but it is snowing behind me. We're supposed to get a lot of snow this weekend here in New Jersey. So let me know, comment down below what the weather's like where you live, because I'm not really that excited for the snow. You know, I used to like snow when I was little, now not so much. Now that like we have to shovel the driveway and stuff when it snows, I'm like, wait, where's my dad from when I was little, when he would do it? And I would just be outside playing in the snow. Not the same anymore. All right, all blended out. Really, really love the finish of that concealer. It's beautiful, but I am interested to see how this concealer works against it. I've never put these two right next to each other, so that's obviously what we're doing right now. Very similar claims. This is the Catrice True Skin High Coverage Concealer. So also supposed to be a full coverage concealer, but this has hyaluronic acid in it. It's supposed to be hydrating and it's supposed to be long wearing. So they do have very similar claims. So I'm gonna go in, this is shade Warm Beige, and apply to the under eyes. This one has a little bit of a thicker consistency to it, but interestingly enough, this one does claim to be waterproof, which I do not believe the Too Faced one does. So, you know, for summertime, or if you're gonna be going somewhere that you might be like sweating or really hot, this may be a good option if it is waterproof. And I'm gonna blend that out. It definitely looks like the Too Faced side has more coverage, but the Catrice concealer is a really good option too. It still definitely gave me coverage and does not feel drying on the under eyes. So many concealers that are full coverage, whether it be high-end or drugstore, are very drying, where neither of these are, which is great. But overall, so far, I feel like our complexion looks pretty similar side to side, so that's what we want. All right, now to set on the high-end side, I'm gonna be going in with one of my absolute favorite powder foundations. This is from Fenty, and this is their Pro Filter Soft Matte Powder Foundation. I have this in shade 230. I love this, it's beautiful. It can be worn completely on its own, and it still gives you a really beautiful look to your skin, or you can use it to set liquid foundation. So that is obviously what we're gonna be doing today. I'm gonna just go in with this and set the high-end side of my face with it. The main thing I really love about this powder is whether it's used as a foundation or used on its own, it really doesn't dry out the skin. I have dry skin, so many powders can just be like a cakey, dry mess. This one really isn't. Like, Rihanna, you killed it on this, girl, as if she's watching, but really, really love this. But I recently tried the ColourPop Pretty Fresh powder, and it really reminded me of it because this also is tinted, so it is gonna give you a little bit more coverage, can be used on its own or used to set liquids, and it doesn't dry you out. So I'm gonna switch to a different powder brush just so we don't cross-contaminate. And this one I'm using shade Medium 10. I'm gonna go in and set the drugstore side with it, just so that our makeup doesn't move throughout the day. Alrighty, now for brows. This one I'm excited about. We have the Anastasia Brow Freeze, so I'm excited. I have a nice little fresh one here, so we're gonna use that on the high-end side. I just freshly tinted my brows, so I don't think we'll need any like really color on them. So I'm just gonna go in with the spoolie. I'm gonna work it in here to get some product on, and then go through my brows with this to really pick them up and separate them. I kind of love the fluffy brows look. I know it's not for everybody, but you don't have to do fluffy brows with either of these products either. You can just go like this and kind of tame them down a little bit, which is what I like to do, kind of in between. But that looks really nice, actually. We'll keep a watch on it as it dries though, because sometimes it can change as it dries and kind of make your eyebrows a weird color. So we'll look out for that. But e.l.f. over here recently came out with their Brow Lift, which is essentially the exact same thing. Actually, the brush I'm using, I'm gonna use it for both, but I'm gonna clean it off right now with a makeup wipe so that we don't cross-contaminate the product. But e.l.f. just came out with a Brow Lift product, which is essentially the exact same thing, and it's much cheaper. So we're gonna see side to side which one is better. So this is what the e.l.f. one looks like. You do get a bit more product in the Anastasia. Let me see. In Anastasia, you get 0.28 ounces. In e.l.f. you get 0.31. Whoa, okay, good thing I looked at that, because like the Anastasia one looks way bigger, but it's, I guess the e.l.f. one is like more deep. Oh. Okay, we're even getting more product with this one. Jeez. All right, gonna go in on my brows on this side and do the same thing. Okay, we obviously have to let them both dry to see like the final result, because it could change as they dry, but upon first applying, the Anastasia one is more clear. I will absolutely give it that. Like this side looks exactly like my brows. The e.l.f. one did change the color ever so slightly. It's not really that bad, but the Anastasia one was like 100% clear, which is nice, so that it's not gonna change the color of your brows whatsoever at all, but we will keep a look on it as they dry down. Alrighty, up next on the high-end side, we're gonna get started with eyeshadow. So I'm gonna be going in with the Makeup by Mario Master Matte eyeshadow palette. So this is an all matte eyeshadow palette, and we're gonna do a look with this. So I'm first gonna go in with this shade right here, and I'm gonna buff that into the crease, just using this as a neutral transition. Now for the drugstore side, I'm gonna be going in with this Wet n Wild Always Naked eyeshadow palette. So you guys will see this eyeshadow palette has a mix of both mattes and shimmers in it. So you are getting both shades in here, where the Makeup by Mario is just strictly matte, but a lot of these mattes correspond very well with the ones in the Mario palette, so you can make a very similar look. So I'm gonna be going in with this shade right here now on the dupe side. And I'm gonna go in over here and just buff this into the crease and upper crease as well. Then jumping back into the Mario palette, I'm gonna go in with this shade and buff that into the crease to begin smoking it out a little bit and building that depth. Then in the Wet n Wild palette, I'm gonna go in with this shade right here and work that in on the drugstore side. The Wet n Wild shade is a little bit more cool toned than the Mario and a little bit darker in color, but overall they really don't look very different. Then in the Mario palette, I'm gonna go in with this shade right here and work that in the crease. And in the Wet n Wild palette, I'm gonna jump in with this shade and do the same thing on the Drugstore Dupe side. These are like so similar. It's like almost crazy. And I really like both palettes. Like I like the Mario one too. And obviously if you're looking for just mattes, there are more shades in this that are just matte, but you can definitely get a really similar look with a more affordable palette. And I personally normally like to do a mix of both mattes and shimmers on my eyes. One thing to note though, like obviously I'm holding this palette because this one has a mirror. The Wet n Wild one does not, so having a mirror is a nice touch. Then I'm gonna go in with this deep dark brown on the high end side and work this into this outer half of the lid and into the crease a little bit, just to kind of deepen out the eye. And I'm gonna jump in with a liner brush in that same shade and bring it on the lower lash line. And then the Drugstore Dupe side, we're gonna jump in with the deepest shade in the Wet n Wild palette right here. Also a very cool tone dark brown, and do the exact same thing, kind of pack it on that outer half of the lid and then also bring it into the crease. This shade is a smidge lighter it's looking than the Mario side, but I feel like once we blend everything out, not really sure you're gonna be able to tell much of a difference. And then also bringing the same shade underneath the eye. Now all over the lid on the high end side, I'm gonna mix together these two shades in the Mario palette, the lightest one and then this peachy kind of shade. I'm just gonna pop my brush into both and then apply to the inner half of the lid, because I still wanna leave that deep darkness kind of on the outside, but use this to brighten up the inner part and bringing it in the inner corner as well. And then also right beneath the brow bone. And I will say, I'm looking now, I feel like once the e.l.f. brow gel set down and like dried, it really didn't change the color much at all. So they are definitely pretty similar. Maybe ever so slightly, but it definitely dries down to be more clear. Then on the Wet n Wild side, I'm gonna jump in with this shade right here. And I'm gonna apply that all over the lid. These shades are like nearly identical, I would say. And then also bringing it beneath the brow bone. All right, honestly, I would say our eyes look pretty spot on. Like they really do not look different at all. So these are definitely good dupes for each other, even though they look like quite different, like to the eye. You know, if you look at the palettes next to each other, they don't really look that similar. Like, yeah, they have similar tones, but this one has different finishes and stuff, but you can definitely get a super similar eye look. Like, I feel like this looks pretty much identical. All right, on the high end side for liner, I'm gonna jump in with one of my favorites. This is the It Cosmetics Superhero Liner. I'm just gonna do a thin line with this look. And I like that this liner has a very precise tip so that you can do that. And just do a thin little line. But a really great, more affordable option is the ColourPop liquid liner. I absolutely love this. So I'm gonna go in the other eye with this and also do a really thin, precise line. There we go. All right, for mascara on the high end side, we're gonna go in with one of my favorites. This is the Benefit Roller Lash. I really like this because it's very lengthening and separating to the lashes. So I'm gonna go in. I recently had lash extensions removed, so my natural lashes are in need of some help at the moment. So no matter what I use, they're really not gonna look amazing. But this is one of my personal favorite mascaras because I like that kind of long, curled, and separated look to my lashes. Although I will say I used to be the queen of like loving really voluminous, like super clumpy lashes that were like all clumped together. Yeah, I used to love that. So now it's like the exact opposite. Okay, now on the drugstore side, I'm gonna be going in with one of my new favorites. This is the Kokie Lash Euphoria Mascara. It is beautiful and is very, very similar. It gives a lot of length and curl and separation to your lashes and really makes them look really nice. It's interesting because I feel like the wand on this mascara looks like a volumizing wand, but it's really not. Like it just really separates, lengthens, and curls your lashes. I'm gonna put a little on my bottom lashes as well. I feel like I desperately want to put on falsies, but those are one thing that you really, like it's very difficult to find exact dupes for a false lash because every style can be ever so different and then it could look completely different on your eyes. So we're gonna leave it at that for the eyes today and continue on to the face. So on the high end side, I'm gonna go in with one of my favorite bronzers of all time. If you guys watch my channel, you know I love this. This is the Sugar Rush Sun and Fun Baked Bronzer. I really love baked bronzers for like all over the face because I feel like they just give such a beautiful glow to the skin, and this one is definitely one of my favorites. Because of the marbledness, it just like gives that perfect little like just sun-kissed kind of glow, but I did recently find a drugstore alternative, and that is the Physicians Formula Butter Cake Bronzer. So it looks a little different, but still also has those different kind of stripes of product. So I'm gonna go in on the other side with this to bronze up the skin. This one also has a scent to it. The Sugar Rush one is not scented. This one is pretty heavily scented, as a lot of Physicians Formula products are, but it smells really good. It smells like donut or vanilla or something. And on the skin, they look super similar, like side to side. This one has a little bit more warmth to it, where the Sugar Rush is a little bit more like brown overall. Slightly different in tone, but pretty similar. Okay, now for blush, on the high-end side, we're gonna go in with the Makeup by Mario Soft Pop Blush in Desert Rose. It's kind of like a mauve-y pink. And I'm gonna pop that on my cheeks on the high-end side. Really, really pretty shade. I really like Mario's blushes. They're very pigmented, so you don't need a lot of them, which is nice. But ColourPop recently came out with a very good dupe for this shade. This is part of their new, the Valentine's Day collection. This is the Kiss and Tell blush, and this is what it looks like. So very, very similar. I'm gonna go on this side with this. The ColourPop one is a little bit lighter. You'll see when it applies to the cheeks, like it has a little less rosiness than the Makeup by Mario one, so they're not spot on. But if you build up the ColourPop one, it does look pretty similar, if you guys see. Mario, a little bit darker, a little bit more of those like purpley undertones, where this one has a little bit more of like the peachy pinky undertones and is a little bit lighter, but I don't think they look completely different side to side. And they are both matte blushes, so they don't have any shimmer to them. For a highlight, I'm gonna jump in on the high-end side with the Tarte Exposed Highlighter. This is like an OG, so pretty. And I'm gonna go in and pop this on my cheeks. It's like a really pretty icy kind of highlight. Yes, woo! So pretty. But this little e.l.f., what are these called? These are their, I forget exactly what they call these little duos, but you get like a little blush and a highlight. And with this one, I did not like the blush, like the orangey blush just wasn't for me, but the highlight is super similar and very pretty. So this is in the shade Cantaloupe. And now again, with this, you obviously get significantly less product on the e.l.f. one, but it is cheaper. And on the skin, they look quite similar, both like kind of icy, blinding highlights. e.l.f. like kills it on their highlight formula. I really, really like e.l.f.'s highlights, and they're super affordable, which is great. But if you guys see, here's the e.l.f. side versus Tarte. Super, super similar, both just like kind of icy with a little bit of a yellowy undertone to them. Gonna just put a little bit of the e.l.f. down the nose and Cupid's bow, just to complete the look. Okay, now for lips, this one I'm really excited about because I haven't tried this personally, so I'm eager to see how they look right next to each other. So we are gonna be going in with everybody's favorite lipstick. On the high-end side, this is the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk lipstick. This is beautiful. One of my personal absolute favorites. It's just the prettiest mauve-y, pinky, nude, like, so pretty. And has a really nice formula because it's very creamy, even though it's matte, so it's long wearing, and beautiful, beautiful product for sure. But word on the street is that the Milani Ludicrous Matte Lip Crayon in the shade Can't Even is a dupe. So I've tried this one too, and I remember liking it, so we're gonna see them right next to each other and see. Okay, I mean, pretty similar. You can tell the difference in shade, but it's not huge. The Milani one's a little bit more cool toned, a little bit more purpley, where you get a little more rose warmness on the Charlotte Tilbury side, but overall, I mean, they're pretty close. And formula-wise, very similar, because this also is very creamy, but it's a matte finish, so neither feel drying to the lips, so can't go wrong with either. They're definitely a close dupe to one another. And then last but not least, for lip gloss on the high-end side, I'm gonna be going in with the Fenty Gloss Bomb in the shade Fussy. This is like my fave. I love this. I'm gonna put this over Charlotte Tilbury. I like these because they're not sticky whatsoever at all. They feel hydrating. They give that nice glossy, juicy look to your lips. But very, very similar is the Maybelline Lifter Gloss. This one is in the shade Moon. It's like nearly identical. Put it on this side. I will say I think the Fenty Gloss Bomb lasts a little bit longer, so I will say that. I like that the Maybelline one has hyaluronic acid in it, but they are definitely super, super similar and give that same kind of juicy look to the lips without being sticky or anything like that. All right, you guys, so that is it. I feel like overall, very, very similar side to side, like, where obviously there's gonna be a huge price difference. I'll put it on the screen here what the difference is between this side and this side price-wise. So let me know what you guys think. If you guys tried any of these dupes, do you plan to try any of them? I would love to hear. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video.